Welcome to the revolution. It's going on behind this door. This isn't the door to big business. Behind this door are enterprising Americans who are finding new ways to do business. And they have stories to tell. Stories of ingenuity and luck, failure and success. They're starting companies in record numbers every year. They represent over 95% of American business. And their dramatic stories are told on Mind Your Own Business. But there's more. Free advice and thought-provoking commentary. Here's the team that'll make the American dream come alive each week. That's me, Richard Martinovich, your host. Tom Sampson, a partner with Arthur Young & Company, who will bring us tips on using a personal computer in business. Jack Staley, another Arthur Young partner who offers advice on taxes, accounting, managing, financing, and more. Now, these two guys have a great routine. John Welsh and Jerry White are authors, consultants, and educators who are on the cutting edge of the entrepreneurial explosion. They're witty, funny, dramatic, and always interesting. But they'll be responding only briefly to the major portion of the show, stories of success, the adventures of today's heroes. Many will be relatively unknown, the Federal Express of tomorrow, the Apple of the 1990s, but we'll also hear about the humble beginnings of established stars like Boone Pickens, Ross Perot, and Steve Jobs. If you're looking for dynamic business programming, you've come to the right place, where you can take the roller coaster ride with us, exploring growing entrepreneurial ventures. If you're looking for suspense, excitement, inspiration, this is it. A major turn-on for yuppies, boomers, new callers, and nearly every other red-blooded American. Be where the action is in America today. Minding your own business.
The other day I overheard a man say to his wife, "Honey, let's retire and open up a restaurant." You know, a lot of people think the restaurant business is fun and glamorous. In reality, opening up a restaurant is about as far from retirement as you can get. Behind the apparent glamour and high profits are long hours and a high likelihood of failure. In fact, the man that started this restaurant had a few failures of his own before he hit it big with Chili's. His name is Larry Levine, and today we'll find out how he built this one restaurant into one of the most successful chains in the country. The restaurant business is intensely competitive and trendy. In an industry where restaurants open and close as often as we eat dinner, Chili's has not only remained popular, it's become one of the top chains in the country. Although credited with one of the original gourmet hamburgers, Chili's is more than a gourmet hamburger joint. The menu includes chicken, fajitas, tacos, and of course, chili. A publicly held corporation with 50 units, Chili's is currently expanding at a rate of about 25 to 30 locations each year.
It all started in 1975 in an old bar in Dallas, Texas that was once a stagecoach stop in the 1880s. The man who started Chili's had little restaurant experience or training. According to Larry Levine, he attended college in body, but not in mind. He finally left college his junior year to start a nightclub in Dallas called the Studio Club. The Studio Club catered to the local college crowd, and during its heyday, Larry was booking acts like Chuck Berry and ZZ Top. By the age of 21, while his friends were still hitting the books, Levine was working 8 hours a week and making $50,000 a year. But Levine knew the club business was fickle, so when revenues began to drop, he closed the club and went on to start a restaurant called the Kitty Hawk.
We thought we were going to start a restaurant which really would have been a Chili's type restaurant, a casual, inexpensive restaurant. But one thing led to another, and before we knew it, it was really a steak and seafood restaurant. And it did good the first year. In '73, it did $1 million, which was a lot back then for a restaurant. And we had no idea what we were doing. And after 6 months, we made a profit. And we thought, well, this is so much fun, we'll go ahead and start another one. And we took our eye off the ball of the first one, and it went downhill, and that was the end of the Kitty Hawk. But I learned a lot. That's where I got my PhD in operating restaurants. We were pretty good with the food. We could turn out quality food. What we never did a very good job with was the service at that time. But I learned to not hire managers that knew less than I did, and that was really, if we didn't know what we were doing, we hired somebody that didn't know what they were doing, that was a fatal, just an accident waiting to happen.
So Levine started Chili's, based on a limited menu of quality food. At the time, Larry had no concept of what was in store for him or Chili's.
It was put together just to be a little neighborhood concept, and we thought if it could make $2,000 or $3,000 profit a month, it would satisfy us. And fortunately, it took off and did much better than that. But we thought we could do it because we would offer quality food. We really weren't trying to set the world on fire. We just wanted to have good food, and we thought people would recognize that.
Levine had more than an interesting concept. He found a need that no one was filling, the need for a quality dining experience at a more affordable price.
When we first started, we were looking at the same type of customers that frequented the steakhouses. Back then, the Steak and Ales and the Victoria Stations and the Railheads, the full dinner houses, we were looking for that same type young singles person that had a high frequency rate of going out to eat, where they could visit a $10 check average at a dinner house, say maybe once a week or once a month. They could come to Chili's 2 or 3 times a week or 2 or 3 times a month and still get the full experience.
I think when you think of the restaurant business, you think of an industry or a business that's very capital intensive. Was it difficult to get financing for Chili's? How did you do it?
Well, the first Chili's cost a total of, I think, $90,000. And I sold my car to put in my percentage. And then we took in some outside partners for part of the capital.
From the start, it was obvious that Larry Levine had a magical touch that attracted good people and kept them. Creed Ford joined Levine in Chili's second year.
I came on board about a year after they opened. It was a real quality outfit, and it was simple. Larry started on simplicity and quality, and that's something that turned me on, where you could get a group of people that really knew the aspects of the restaurant business, and they could put it all together and have fun doing it.
Chili's expanded to Houston, San Antonio, Denver, then San Jose. In 1979, there were 7 restaurants. By 1983, the number had swelled to 20.
Now, how about when you expanded, Larry? Was it as much fun running 20 restaurants as it was 2? As the responsibility went up, did some of the excitement or romance leave?
No, because there was different challenges, and picking sites was a big challenge, and it was a big responsibility in that you had to pick the right sites. We were fortunate with Chili's in that we've never had a time where we had an operational problem. A lot of chains would go through phases of peaks and valleys where they wouldn't have consistent operational team working together, but we always had a good team put together. So my biggest challenge was trying to pick the right sites for us.
You had a change of management here several years ago. What happened there? A new team came in.
Yeah, a new team came in. Norman Brinker, who had founded Steak and Ale, was restless and looking for some other challenges, and we had gotten to a crossroads at Chili's that we either needed to take it public or sell the company out or some combination there, because there was a lot of competition coming up, and we didn't feel we had the team in place to, in some areas we needed expertise in, marketing being one of them. And Norman was available, and it looked like a good fit at the time to have him join us and gain from a lot of the experience they had at Steak and Ale and Bennigan's.
Less than 2 years after Brinker and his team joined Chili's, Levine resigned from his post as president, and with a handful of followers from Chili's, started a new restaurant in Dallas called the Bel Air Grill. Larry now divides his time between the restaurant and his newest enterprise, real estate development.
There's a lot of small business people out there right now want to know how rewarding this business is financially for you. Was it there from the beginning, or is this something when you started you knew it was going to take 5 years before you'd start seeing a profit?
The restaurant took off it's very slow, $100 the first day, and it grew from there. And that at the end of 6 or 8 months, we were probably doing $40,000 or $50,000 a month, which was good at the time. And for the cost of operating that business, it started throwing off a lot of cash. So in the early of Chili's, I, within reason, could do whatever I wanted to, because I had it as a restaurant. When a restaurant works, really is it puts out a good cash flow. And then my big rewards I waited to take when the company was strong enough, and after we were public, sold some stock. So if it works, you can hit what we call a big home run, but you've got to be patient and put in a lot of time possibly before that's going to happen.
It's no secret now that Chili's is a success, but a lot of other players have been unable to duplicate that success. What is the magic ingredient?
I think the keys of the Chili's success is to keep up with the marketplace and always be aware of not only listening to the customer and what's going on in the aspect of the market, but also with the employees, and be in tune with your employees and be in tune with your customers and be perceptive of the whole market. When we started out, like Larry pointed out, we had 5 hamburgers and an order of French fries, and now we have more of an extensive menu, and we're keeping up track of the market to see what the customer's looking for.
Quality food, and then surveys indicate that service is very high, and consistency. I used to tell my managers that McDonald's may not have the greatest hamburger in the world, but it's consistent. You can have the same one in Dallas as you'd have in New York, and that's important. People don't want to be surprised when they have food.
Larry started out, and he taught us the importance of quality. We only used one type of mayonnaise, one type of mustard. The bun had to be just right, and he was so fickle about it that we'd fly bakers or bread people out of Dallas to go into the different markets to tell them this is the consistency, this is the moisture consistency, same with the hot dog and the meat and everything else. So that was really taught to us at an early stage, and after the quality was defined and you set your standards, and then it was pretty easy to control after that.
Chili's has shown that consistent quality is attainable, and the restaurant has been willing to change with the tastes of its customers. But the Chili's success story doesn't end there.
The restaurant business is not like the tire business or the steel business in that it's a people business, and people that work in restaurants are a certain type of individual, and you've got to treat them a certain way. They're in that business because they like that, and if they're going to do a good job, you've got to handle them much like you would a creative person or something, as opposed to a bookkeeper that would do a fine job for a tire company.
I had come from a restaurant chain or restaurant operation where the people were kind of the last things, and profit, bottom line, how much money we could make were the main concerns of the owners. And with Chili's, it's not that way. The people are number one. So it makes me feel important. It makes me enjoy my job. It's one of those few situations where I'm able to come to work and feel good about coming to work and also feel good about living because the people that we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Just sitting in a Chili's restaurant, one can observe a remarkable sense of fun and camaraderie among the employees. These are people who know that management cares about them as people, and this makes them shine.
A customer had come in, parked in the parking lot, gone in, had a meal. He was ready to leave, and he went out and he noticed that one of the tire stops had turned over and punctured a hole in his tires. Well, he got real upset. It wasn't Chili's fault. The landlord could have been held liable. Well, the manager, just in thinking in terms of I'm a Chili's individual, what would I do to take care of this person, told the customer to sit down, bought him a drink, went out and bought him a brand new tire, brought that tire back, had the bussers, food servers, everybody else involved in putting that tire on for him. And it was a fun deal. It was a willingness to help the individual, to enjoy their work so much that they wanted to make sure that person was taken care of. And it's a very happy company. It's not something that's all-encompassing in terms of the profit being the most important motivation for all of us, but it does make money, and the things that we do work for us real well. Chili's is a fun place to work, and if you talk to the people, you talk to the customers, it's a fun place to go. And everything that comes in talking to the individuals that are involved will evolve around the people aspect and how much they enjoy their work because of the people contact and the fun of just being there.
When we return, we'll ask Larry Levine for some advice about starting a restaurant. Larry, I wanted to ask you if you'd do it all again, but I think you've already answered that. You've opened up a new restaurant in Dallas called the Bel Air Grill. Can you tell us about it?
Bel Air Grill is a concept that we put together to start in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I guess it would be, if we're going to start Chili's all over again, what might we change? Chili's is great and it's doing wonderful things and it's going on, and they're going to have hundreds of stores. But maybe this is if Chili's had gotten a little older, like we all have that were part of the first Chili's, what might we do in a restaurant? And it's same casual, relaxed atmosphere, but a little broader menu, which I think restaurants are going to today. So we've just taken Chili's, and it's grown up a little bit in that we have what they call gourmet pizza today that we hand make and cook in a wood-burning oven, and we have fresh fish that we charcoal broil, and other sandwiches and salads, all fairly casual, but just a little more sophisticated than what we had in the past.
Looking back now, what mistakes did you make in the beginning that you do differently now?
It sounded glamorous to go all over the country at first, and we felt the concept was so unique that you could only have one in each city. And Fridays had that same philosophy for a number of years. But we learned that you can probably saturate a market before you go to other markets. It would have helped our growth a lot. Experience tells us now that you try to cluster them so that you can have a supervisory staff that can visit the restaurants often, and also get enough in the market where you can get on TV and advertise and have it not be cost prohibitive.
Larry, you love to cook. Is it a requirement to know food well to run a successful restaurant, or is it enough to be a good businessman?
I think you should know both. There's certainly a lot of people that run restaurants that probably couldn't boil water, but they probably are smart enough to go get somebody that knows about food. I don't think that'd be very risky to somebody start and get in the restaurant business that doesn't know anything about food, that doesn't know the basics. They're taking an added risk.
So many people think the restaurant business is glamorous. Is it?
No, I think I'm going to start a consulting service of not opening restaurants. Call me if you want to open a restaurant, and for $10,000, I'll save you thousands. A lot of people think it's an endless party, and that it's just a dinner party every night, and people are going to come over and have fun, but that's not it. It's a business, and people are pretty picky about what they put in their mouth, and so they're in a kind of a different kind of a mood when they go buy your product, in that they want great service. Everybody wants to be treated like a king, and they deserve to be. Somebody that buys a $5 hamburger wants $10 worth of service, and somebody that buys a $20 French meal wants $50 worth of service, and they deserve it again. So you've got to, it's not just an endless party. There's a business behind that.
Long hours?
Long hours for sure. This restaurant will open probably at 7:30 or 8 in the morning and start doing prep, and the manager might not get out of there on a weekend night till 3 or 3:30.
What do you think constitutes an entrepreneur?
You've got to be willing to take a big risk, and you get a lot of rewards, but you've got to take the responsibility to get there. And if it fails, then the buck stops with you. So you've got to be willing to accept that.
If the buck stops with you, then you'll be interested in some sound advice from Jack Staley of Arthur Young. Next.
High on the agenda of most entrepreneurs is saving income taxes. Unfortunately, many entrepreneurs who have incorporated their business have not availed themselves of S corporation status. Simply put, S corporation status means that the income of the corporation is taxed once at the shareholder level rather than the traditional 2 times at the corporate level, and then again when the income is distributed in the form of dividends to the shareholders. S corporation status has been a part of the law for a number of years. Unfortunately, only loss corporations traditionally used it. They used those losses to shelter the income of the shareholders. Profitable corporations were really unattracted to S corporation status. Why? Because the individual rates were so much higher than the corporate rates, approaching 70% in some cases. Today, many profitable corporations are electing S corporation status. Why? Because today, the corporate rates and the individual rates are approximately the same. Further, additional savings are available if the income of the corporation is spread among a number of shareholders, thus producing substantial savings to the shareholders.
Evaluating the purchase of a personal computer for your own business doesn't have to be confusing or painful. Up next is Tom Sampson of Arthur Young with some valuable advice for those in pursuit of the PC.
The microcomputers available today give the small business owner an additional resource to use in managing the daily activities of his concern. A general accounting system that operates on a microcomputer could well be a major factor in the success of your business. A single bookkeeper using a general accounting system on a microcomputer can keep accurate and up-to-date records on all aspects of a small business. And the reports generated by these systems can give you the opportunity to stay on top of collections, inventory levels, and cash flow. These systems range in costs from less than $100 to more than $5,000 and require a microcomputer that can range in cost from less than $3,500 to more than $15,000. The steps necessary to select and install one of these systems can last from less than 2 weeks to more than 2 months in the more complicated situation, and you may find it necessary to consult with an expert who is familiar with general accounting procedures as well as the capabilities of these new systems. During the sessions ahead, we'll examine the microcomputer software that's available as well as the components of the microcomputer. And we'll look at the steps a small business should go through in installing as well as selecting the general accounting system for their business. Until then, happy computing.
John Welsh and Jerry White are directors of the Caruth Institute for Owner-Managed Business at Southern Methodist University. They're nationally recognized experts on small business and co-authors of the Entrepreneur's Master Planning Guide. Because John and Jerry have actually been out there in the trenches of the business world, their perspective is realistic and practical. Let's see what insight they can add to the Chili's success story.
Larry Levine sounds like so many successful entrepreneurs that we've met. He emphasizes the importance of people. He says the people who work with him are special and they have to be treated that way.
He talks about customers as buying a $20 meal and deserving $50 worth of service. And his attitude is they really do deserve that.
And he's conveyed that attitude to his employees so that the employees and the managers go out of their way to make the customers feel good about Chili's.
And he treats everyone the same way. Suppliers, bankers, he treats them all the way he treats the customers.
Larry Levine has a clear picture of what a business is. A business is a group of people, and those people are working together to satisfy their needs and goals and aspirations. And the people includes not only the customers, but the employees, the managers, the bankers, everybody who's associated with the business.
And Larry demonstrates a number of the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. One of those being integrity. It comes out in a lot of the things that he says. For example, the SBA loan.
Yes, he borrowed under an SBA loan to start the Kitty Hawk, and when it didn't work out, he felt an obligation personally to pay back that loan.
And the characteristic of needing control and direction over one's own destiny, the control and direct characteristic, comes out in much of what he says. He left college in his junior year.
He also said that he decided what brand of mayonnaise and mustard they'd use.
Realistic. He seems to be very realistic. He says that the restaurant is not a party every night, it's a business. And risk-taking. Successful entrepreneurs are not big gamblers. They do play for large stakes, but they take calculated risks.
Another thing that came out is you often hear the question, do you need relevant experience and product market knowledge? At one point, Larry said that we didn't know much about the business when we started. Some may have missed the other points that he made. At age 21, he was making $50,000 a year from his club. That's a business that's very much like a restaurant.
And then he started the Kitty Hawk restaurant, built it to $1 million annual rate in sales within a 6-month period. That business did not work out, but he got very valuable knowledge.
By the time he started Chili's, he had considerable relevant experience, and he gained it in a way that most people don't have an opportunity to gain it.
And I could not help but think about Chili's competitive strategy. You know, John, you're fond of saying yourself that you do not start a business. What you do is you enter a competition.
And in the Chili's locations, there's no shortage of restaurant competition.
In that situation, you need a competitive strategy, and one of the basic ones that I feel that they follow is called differentiation.
Differentiation, that's the strategy where the company has a clear picture of the consumers, the customers' perceived values, and focuses on those values to differentiate themselves.
4 of the obvious consumer values that Chili's concentrates on are service, consistency, price, and quality. Chili's understands its competitive strategy and has communicated that to all levels of its organization.
It's been a fascinating glimpse inside the restaurant business. Quality food, quality people, the right location are all key ingredients to a successful restaurant. As Larry Levine put it, there's a potential to hit a home run, but it's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility, and I might add, a little magic. So until next time, mind your own business.